You're probably wondering why I'm dressed like this. Well, that's because TED's policy doesn't allow nudity. Yes, this is about nudity. I'm going to tell you something about my experience in the TV show of Adam looking for Eve and how it drastically changed my life. Downsize your life to downsize your stress. Why would you do something like that? Well, sometimes it's important to remove yourself from an old situation to look at things from a different perspective. And at the time, I found myself stuck and stressed. And I really needed a new perspective in life. And it was my lifelong dream to go to a deserted island and finally reflect on my life and myself and figure out what the true key to happiness was. Who of you has ever felt stressed or stuck in life? Raise your hands. Everyone, right? And you're not the only one, because 70% of employees report stress as the most important problem at work. And money is the number one reason throughout the world. And more young people these days get a burnout because of society's high pressure to run into that hamster wheel called society, having a great job, a nice house, a big car, stuff like that. And our natural response to that is try and work harder, get a better job, earn more money. And I was looking to find a way how I could work less and have more money to spend. To understand how I got to that point of being stressed and stuck in life, it needs a little bit of a background story. When I was a child, I wasn't really interested in other people. I was really addicted to gaming. Starting at age 6, I got my first Nintendo. And around 16, I was addicted to World of Warcraft, League of Legends. I was bullied a lot in school for being such a geek. My parents divorced when I was quite young. My mom was in a wheelchair, and I had to be independent from a very young age. So I started working at 14, and by the time I was 17, work got tougher for me. My muscles started to feel sore, I easily got tired, and 2 years after that, I collapsed. It was like somebody literally pulled the plug and I couldn't move any farther. If somebody would come up to me and ask me how I was doing, I would just start crying. I had no control over my body or my emotions. I couldn't even hold a cup of coffee. I was just 19 years old, and my doctor diagnosed me with a double burnout and advised me to stay at home for at least a year. So to keep a long story short, it took me 3 years of rehabilitation and therapy and a lot of diagnosis to try and figure out what was wrong. I moved about 14 times in 7 years, moving about every 6 months, trying to find a different job, a different school, a different relationship, figuring out what would really make me happy. My pursuit of happiness, as I like to call it. I just lost it. So at some point in 2012, I came here to Breda, feeling quite hopeless, because after 3 years of rehabilitation and therapy, I finally felt confident to go back to work. So I went back to work, and in just a matter of 2 months, I was back at home with another burnout. I was frustrated. I couldn't figure out what went wrong all this time and caused me so much stress and why I was unhappy. So with the May Foundation here in Breda, we drew a timeline of my life. I had to write down all the positive and negative events, and I came to the conclusion my life has been pretty shitty for about 80% of the time. And at that exact moment, I realized I needed to make a change. At the time I was depressed, I had no goal, no job, no future ahead of me, so I had nothing to lose. So I started making a bucket list. And I know it sounds cheesy because everyone makes a bucket list nowadays, but this bucket list was the only thing that kept me going, the only thing that gave me purpose. And I wrote down some things like wall climbing, skydiving, starting my own business, and all the things that I was scared about and dreamed of and never even thought about doing. But I did all of those things. And every time I crossed something off my list, it gave me an unimaginable feeling of confidence and power. And I started to enjoy getting out of my comfort zone. I started to enjoy facing my fears and expanding my perspective. And my views went from being very negative to very positive. And one thing that was on my bucket list was going to a deserted island. Now, either you need to have a lot of money to be able to afford something like that, or you need to take any other kind of opportunity that comes along. So when the TV show Adam Looking for Eve showed up on television, where candidates would be dropped on a deserted island, completely naked, to get to know each other in an entirely different way, I immediately said, this is going to be on my bucket list. I'm going to do this. So I applied, and after 2 months, I got the confirmation that I was going to be flying all the way to the Philippines by myself to be on national television, completely naked, surviving on an island for a couple of days. Well, it sounds pretty scary, and it was, but it was the ultimate test to myself to conquer all the fears that I had left in me. So here I went. This was the island that I went to. They dropped me on a raft. I had to paddle and swim towards the island, and if you look closely on the beach, there's a small wooden cabin. And that's basically all we had. A wooden cabin with a mattress and a sheet, some water, rice, and eggs. And that's it. We had to go into the jungle completely naked, gathering wood to make a fire. I was really afraid of the dark, but when nighttime came, the rats would come out, monkeys were shouting, you would hear rustling of leaves, and all kinds of things were going on in that jungle. But when you looked up to the sky, you had no light pollution, and you could see the entire Milky Way. It's something you only see in magazines like National Geographic, and when you lay down on your back on that beach and look into the universe, you realize how small you are. How small you are, how vulnerable you are, and how short life is. You also realize that everything you care about on a daily basis doesn't matter anymore. I was addicted to my phone, my social media, my games, and I didn't have any of that. I didn't miss it for a second. All that I missed was my family, my friends, being able to take a shower and going to the grocery shop across the street. Really basic things. You were just trying to survive, trying to gather wood, make a fire, get something to eat. And when I got back home, a lot of things changed. First, my friends and family were afraid that this TV show, me showing up naked on TV, would affect me in a bad way, because I was a business owner, and they thought it had a bad impact on me, and it would chase me for the rest of my life. Well, the opposite happened. It was very good for my confidence to start with, and the image people have for me, because people finally saw me really the way I was, naked and pure, just me being myself. And that also taught me that it's pointless to worry and feel ashamed and be scared of other people's opinions, because that doesn't change anything about the experience I had and the lessons I learned. Sometimes you just have to take a leap of faith instead of regretting a chance you didn't take, because you can't turn back time, and maybe the chance doesn't come along anymore. So you should never be afraid to be yourself, never be ashamed. Sometimes it's good to feel vulnerable. Speaking of which, maybe it's time to be myself again. That's better. It was cold. So, when I got back home, I looked around my house and I noticed how much stuff I had been gathering that was completely useless. We're not there yet. Stop it. I was looking around, I saw this stuff from my youth that I held on to. Stop doing that. And what I did was I packed 10 boxes full of stuff. I put them right in front of my house with a sign, "Free to take." And the next day, all of this stuff was gone. And I felt so relieved. Like I said, I moved 14 times in 7 years' time, and I took all of this stuff with me, and it felt like the weight of all of this stuff was on my shoulders all this time. And every time I would give away stuff to people who could use it a lot better than I could, I felt so relieved and happy and free. I didn't only get rid of my stuff. I also got rid of a lot of negative people around me. And I got rid of my house. I decided to move back in with my dad and try and figure out what I really wanted. That's when I met my partner, who is also an entrepreneur. And he also wanted to unclutter his life, trying to get out of that rat race. Because being a business owner, you meet all of these business people with fancy suits, caring a lot about their image, about the amount of money you make, about the car you drive, the house you have, stuff like that. And we wanted to get away of all of those expectations and stress that it was giving us. So just recently, 3 months ago, we moved to a tiny cabin in the middle of the forest. And we are currently exploring options like tiny houses and being self-sustainable with solar panels and durability. And it's not like we're hippies or something. It's not just a trend we're seeing in society. We see a lot of different, all sorts of people with children, people with jobs, people with mortgages, not just entrepreneurs or hippies or gypsies or whatever. Everyone in society is realizing that they want more freedom and they want to take control of their own life and not be in this hamster wheel of society all this time. So we see a trend that is growing and growing. This trend is called tiny houses. This is one example of a tiny house that is on wheels you can take with you. If you decide, I want to live on the beach right now, you just drag this house to the beach and there you are. And if you suddenly decide you want to live in a forest or near a big city, and you can just drag it with you and move over there. Sounds really great, right? Being able to move your house around like that. And you can build a house like that for just 30,000 euros, something like that. And if you make it completely self-sustainable, you can filter your own water, use a compost toilet, get solar panels, and you don't have an energy bill, you don't have to pay rent. You own this house. You generate your own energy in your water and stuff like that. You're completely free and independent. And the law in Holland is also changing, because throughout the entire country, there are initiatives from different cities allowing people to build a house like that. You can also build a house like that stuck in one place, and if you look closely at the pictures, you can see how convenient all the spaces are. You have everything you need. You have quite a large bedroom, you have a kitchen, you have a toilet and a shower, you have a place to relax, everything you need, right? Well, we chose a different option for now because we are still figuring out if we want to build a house like that. So right now we live in something like this. Especially the one on the right looks a lot like what we have right now. The forest is really our backyard, and we're just 5 kilometers away from the beach and the big city, so we have everything within hand's reach. You might have the feeling that you'll be giving up a lot of living space, but what you get back is a lot of space to live. Now, who doesn't want to work less and have more money? Every single one of you, right? Sounds like a luxury, like a dream that is really hard to accomplish unless you're a billionaire or something. Well, it's not. It's really easy. If you are ready to give up on a few luxuries and comfort, it's really easy. The benefits of downsizing. First of all, you have a fresh start. Who of you doesn't look back in the past and thinks like, if I could change one thing, this would be it? Well, maybe you just start over, reload, game on. Another benefit is you have less stuff. Durability, environment, it's more responsible. You have less cleaning. I'm finished in no time cleaning my house, I swear. I spend 1 hour a week and it's enough. You have more money and more time. And what do you think about your children? We are all used to like owning a house where every child has his own room and his own privacy and stuff like that. You don't have that in a tiny house. But I have met couples with children who started living in a tiny house like that. And a few of the benefits are that you're raising your children in nature. They are learning to respect nature. They are learning to share more because they have less resources. You are in a tiny space together, so you're spending more time together, communicating in a better way, having a stronger family bond. And whenever your kids enter society, they will be more independent and stronger. Happier also. Now, if you look at my backyard, this is my backyard. I'm thinking, why wouldn't choose this way of life? Because you can have the biggest and most beautiful cup in the world. It's still about the quality of the coffee you put in it. Thank you.